Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. Today I'm sitting down with Robin Trower, one of the most distinctive guitarists in rock history. If you know Robin's work, you know that tone, the incredible sustaining strat sound that's been his signature for over 5 decades. Before he was a solo artist, Robin was the guitarist for Procol Harum from 1967 to 71, helping define their sound during some of their most important years. After leaving Procol Harum, Robin launched a solo career and really found his voice, combining Jimi Hendrix-style rock with deep blues influences. Albums like Bridge of Sighs became the blueprint for blues rock guitar playing. But before we get started, remember to hit subscribe. Here's my interview. Robin, welcome.
Nice to be here.
Great to meet you in person. Longtime fan.
Thank you very much.
I started playing guitar in the mid-'70s, and the records that I listened to at the time, Bridge of Sighs, the live record of yours, those were big albums for me. I would learn your guitar solos.
Could show them to me, could you?
And I didn't really know anything about gear. I always wondered how you got the sounds that you had. Let's just start in the 60s. So you joined Procol Harum in 67.
Yeah.
Right? What did you play through then?
I think for Procol, I was using a Fender 410, was it?
Like a super reverb or something?
Yeah, I think, 410, quite a big, heavy amp, you know.
Yeah.
What I would do, even then, I was going through a small practice amp, which was made by a company called Selma.
Yeah, of course.
I would plug into that and come out of the speaker, sort of where it joined from the amp to the speaker.
Yep.
And plug it into the Marshall or the Fender
Okay.
at that time. So I was using it as an overdrive, basically.
Got it.
I think when I first started Procol, I was using a Gretsch solid body.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I switched to an SG Gibson. Mm-hmm. So I was playing Gibsons mostly all through Procol until towards the end I sort of came across by accident really the Fender Strat and sort of have always used them since then.
What was going on in London? That's where you were living at the time, right?
I was living in a place in Essex called Southend on Sea.
What was the music scene like there then?
Well, I was in a band called the Paramounts with Gary Brooker and BJ Wilson was a drummer as well. We were doing rock and roll and rhythm and blues. I think we were the only ones in that area that were doing sort of rhythm and blues stuff. Mm-hmm. We were very fortunate to open up for the Stones at a gig in Kent and got to know them. They were, we were opening up for them and they liked us. And so as they were sort of getting more popular and moving into bigger venues, they were leaving what were called blues clubs then. And they sort of recommended us for that work. So, they were a big help. And, they put us on their tours and they were a very big help.
How big were these blues clubs? What would be the capacity?
I mean, we're talking about 300 people sort of thing, if you were lucky.
Yeah.
One was in Windsor. I think the most famous one was in Windsor, just outside London. And that was called the Ricky Tick Club, I think it was called. Anyway, that's where they started. That was one of the places where they started. And, they handed it over to us and we got some work out of that. Yeah, no, they were very helpful. Definitely.
How did you end up joining Procol Harum? You knew that obviously you had played with the guys already. And
I played with Gary, obviously, and they had the big hit out of the time. They weren't happy with the drums and guitar that they had, so very fortunately for me, Gary called me and asked me to try out for it, So I auditioned and they all liked it, so... the next thing I know, I'm in the studio making the first album.
When you were recording back then, where'd you guys record?
There was a place in central London. I think it was called Advision. Maybe I'm wrong. But we also recorded at Olympic in Barnet.
Yeah.
I think that was mostly the second album, Shine On Brightly, we did there. Yeah.
Had you been in studios before that?
Yeah, because in the Paramounts we recorded at EMI, Abbey Road. Mm-hmm. We had a couple of singles there, just cover songs, that we had.
And this is, well, the Beatles were making their records at the same time then.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Did you ever come across those guys while they were working there? Or while you worked there?
They were never there at the same time, but we did, we opened up on their last UK tour, so we got to know them then.
It's pretty amazing.
It was good times, definitely good times, yeah.
So Matthew Fisher, who plays, we talked about Matthew for a second before we started here, who played keyboards with Procol Harum, also produced 3 of your records.
Yeah, he did. A great guy, Matthew.
So you got to know him when you were playing in the band.
Yeah.
How did that happen as far as him becoming a producer?
Well, he produced the Procol album, Salty Dog.
Okay.
So when it came for me to do my first album, he was the only producer I knew.
Okay. There
I
you
didn't
go.
know any other producers. And we got along very well, Matthew and I. So
Did Jeff Emmerich produce or engineer your first record or the second?
no, he produced, he engineered the second album, Bridge of Sighs.
Yep.
Magical engineer. Absolutely.
The Bridge of Sighs record sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's
it's
down
so
to Jeff.
well recorded. It's one of
Yeah.
the best recordings of that era to me.
Yeah.
The drums, the bass, it has massive low end.
Yeah.
Did you guys realize it at the time?
Well, I knew he was getting a great sound. And I think he maybe invented the way he recorded the guitar as well. I think maybe that was something really new. Because I played loud in the studio,
Yeah.
he would pace the 3 mics at different distances
Okay.
away from the amps, and I think that's how it got that sort of huge sound, I think he was the first guy to come up with that. But he was a very gifted engineer.
Oh my God.
Fantastic
Yes.
ears,
When you hired an engineer back then to make a record, was that something that if Matthew's producing, he would hire Jeff? Or did you say, I want Jeff to engineer the
No,
record?
it was put together by the record label.
Record label, okay.
Chrysalis.
Yep.
So we fell on our feet, and Jeff was the engineer. Talk about jammy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the process of recording a record like that back then? Like in the...
Well, it was all done live apart from the vocals.
Yep.
And some lead, obviously, some of the overdub solos and stuff. But few of the songs, for instance, on Bridge of Sighs, we were already playing live. So it didn't take a lot, to come in and bang them down.
You guys would just set up and you'd run, how many takes would you do typically?
Well, if it was stuff we were already playing live, probably 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you ever edit between the takes or would
Not-
you
not
you'd
in those
say, okay,
days, no.
we got a good one, and then you'll overdub your vocals on it? Would you do your guitar solos live or would you overdub them?
I think the only one, if I remember rightly, that I did live on Bridge of Sighs was the 2 Rolling Stone
Yeah.
vamp at the end.
Yeah.
But on the first album, Daydream was played live.
I'm really curious about recording processes back then. You guys would set up, how long would it take to get sounds for records? I mean, would it be like, okay, we have a session, we're going to start at 10 a.m.? I mean, what was it? Give me the process of making a record back then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very relaxed, you know what I mean?
Okay.
People would turn up, no specific time. We knew we were going to start in the afternoon probably. So most people would get there by noon.
Uh-huh.
Setting up, I'm not really aware of that. I mean, we would be sort of jamming while they were putting the mics out and what
Got
have
it.
you. And
So you'd set up kind of where it would sound good to you in the room? Or would Jeff, if he was engineering?
I think maybe Jeff Emmerich said, let's we'd be in a line, as though we were playing live.
Yep.
As I say, we would be jamming and fooling around, and they'd be setting the mics up, and then Jeff would say, we're ready. Let's record something. It was very relaxed. There was there's no sense of urgency or
It's not like, okay, we're making a record now.
Yeah, it's costing all this. You didn't even think about that.
Wow. Let me play something. Let me play Bridge of Sighs actually here. Play a bit of it.
sun don't shine, the moon don't move, the time's too much weekly. Sun don't shine, the moon don't move, the tide's too much weekly. Why so unforgiving, and why so cold? Been a long time crossing bridge of sight.
Sounds amazing.
Yes.
Massive. I mean, really sounds huge.
Yeah.
I always thought that about the records, like, wow.
That was a very big room, that. It was an orchestra room, you know, at Air London.
What are you playing through there? Is that like a Univibe or something? What kind of...
Yeah, Univibe, yeah.
Like Univibe.
Yeah.
Is the gain just the natural gain of the amp?
No, I actually had somebody built me basically just a volume booster.
Okay.
So I had a volume control.
What would you play through, a Marshall?
Yeah, Marshall 100s and two Marshall 100s and two 4x12s. Yeah.
Okay. But in the studio, you'd play through both, play through two. So you guys were loud.
Loud. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
The drums sound really well isolated. Did you guys have...
there's screens all around
Screens,
them.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things that I notice about it is all the drumming is incredibly consistent.
Yeah.
All the rim shots, all even sounding. I mean, it's really a great performance, and it just is so... just sounds so big, and the bass, massive bass, massive low end.
Reg had a magic about his drumming.
Yeah.
I mean, you could listen to him just playing a beat while they were getting the sounds up, you know, and you think, I mean, that's really musical, you know, something vibe about it, what he did, yeah.
What would you sing through? What kind, you know, what kind of microphone you would sing through at the time?
I think it was pretty much a Valve,
Like
57.
U47 or something?
47, yeah.
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 You record the record. Do you guys just do the mixes right then? How did you...
Yeah, I mean, it's all part of the same session, you know, like over a couple of weeks, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you do a take and go in the control room and listen typically? Or would you go play a few takes and you'd say, okay, that was the take? Or would Matthew say that? I think we got the take.
A bit of each, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think sometimes you'll have finished the take and you think, well, let's go and have a listen to it. You know, that would be it, really. Yeah.
Would you ever go back in and say, oh, I like this or I don't like this. Let's try one more pass and this time we'll do that.
I think we assumed if we got through without making a mistake, that was the take.
Okay, and then when you did your solos, if you overdub your solos, would you stand in the control room or would you stand out in the room?
out in the room.
So you get the natural feedback.
Yeah,
and things like
that was very important to me. You know, that the pickup was seeing the amp. You know, so you could get the sustain and.
Now you had a very dark sound, and you're playing your Strat there, right? Did you have it configured any particular way, or did you really dial back the treble?
No, didn't dial back the treble. I think it was all done with the booster.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that had a setting on it or a tone control on it at least, and then just the amps, you know. But I mean, the amps in the 70s, those early Marshall amps were very warm.
Yeah.
As time went on, they lost that.
Yes.
In fact, I have to have the modern ones that I use. I use 50-watt ones now. I have to have them tinkered with to take that too much top end off, to make them warmer.
Did you have amps modded back then?
No.
Would they modify amps at all?
No, they were just as they came, yeah.
How would you even know what you wanted to play through? I mean, did you plug into other people's Marshalls and say, oh, I'm going to move from Fender to Marshall, or not use my Selmer? I mean, how would you even try out gear at the time? Go to a music store and try things out?
That's a good question, that. Why did I switch to Marshalls? I think because they were the coming amp of the time, you
Yeah.
know, and people were using them, and there was a sound to them. I think that's it. And I thought, well, I'm going to try a 100-watt, you know, see how I get on.
Did you go out and see Clapton play in the 60s at clubs, or Hendrix?
Yeah, saw Cream in a little dance hall out in Norfolk somewhere, Suffolk, Norfolk.
And he was playing Marshalls at the time,
Yeah,
right?
that was all Marshall. They were both playing Marshall, him
Yeah.
and Jack, yeah.
Did you guys know kind of what was going on in the music scene there? Obviously, in England, you had the Stones, you had the Beatles, you had all this great music coming out of there. Was that something that you just took for granted, that all these English bands were huge in the United States and all over?
I think when you're actually there at the time, it doesn't have the meaning to you that you realise later on what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of part of the flow of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, sort of 20 years later, you think, wow, look at the amount of talent there was happening then.
How did you develop your style, and how did you get into playing guitar?
Well, I wanted to play guitar because of Elvis's guitar player, Scotty Moore.
Yeah.
You know, he's the guy that kicked it off, definitely. You know, I got a guitar for Christmas, I think, when I was 14 or something, and started playing. I just seemed to know how to play it, funnily enough.
Okay.
It's one of those things, you know,
Right.
oh, yeah.
Was it easy to find people to play in bands with when you first started out?
No, not really. No, it wasn't until well, there was a band that I used to see locally in Southend that used to come down from Romford near London, and they were called the Rockefellers, and they were guitar, bass, drums, and piano vocalist.
Okay.
So I wanted to imitate them. Yeah, they were the inspiration. So came across Gary on piano and talked him into singing,
Okay.
so that we could be like the Rockefellers, you know. But very quickly developed their own thing, you know, sort of following more into the R&B. We were doing James Brown stuff and Ray Charles and Bobby Bland stuff, you know.
When you do covers, how did you decide which ones to do? Did you know what songs were popular? Or
Well-
did you just do things that you liked?
Yeah, we just did some things that we liked, because you've got to remember in 62, 3, round there, that R&B stuff was unheard of.
Nobody knew it, right?
That's right, yeah. And we had to really dig it out, you know.
And would you be going to record stores all the time, or would people...
We were very lucky locally. There was a record collector friend of ours,
Okay.
and he used to write away to a record shop in Memphis, and they would send him stuff. So we got to hear stuff that wasn't released in the UK, you know. So that was very fortunate.
And would you just learn the tunes then? Would you learn them at the guy's place or...
Well, he'd loan us the records. And,
Okay.
yeah.
And you'd be like, oh, let's do this
Yeah,
song.
yeah,
and,
yeah.
And then you play these tunes and people would have no idea what they were.
No, that's right. Some of them anyway, they certainly. I mean, we started off doing a little bit Chuck Berry and stuff like that, you know, but as I say, as we graduated more to rhythm and blues covering, you know, we used to really get into the Bobby Bland stuff, you know, Turn On Your Love Light and stuff like that. And then we started doing James Brown live at the Apollo. We used to do, you know, sort of 5 songs off of that, you know, so...
And that's something that would have been known in the UK at that point.
I think musicians knew about the Live at the Apollo album. I don't think there was a musician in the UK who didn't have a copy of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When was the first time that you came to the United States?
That would be with Procol. 68, I think, probably.
What was that like coming here?
Mind-blowing. It really was, yeah. I mean, you know, because you grew up thinking about, well, everything great comes out of the United States, you know. So what a great thing to be over there playing.
And where did you fly into?
I think it was New York.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we started off playing at a club in New York.
So you come into New York first time. You're what, 20, early
Something,
20s,
yeah,
20 something.
yeah.
It must have blown your mind, right?
Yeah, it was wonderful and at the same time scary, because New York was a pretty scary place then. You know, you wake up in the middle of the night and hear sirens going off and the odd gunshot. So it's all very exciting, I have to say.
When you would do your tours with Procol at the time, would you guys tour via bus? How would you get around?
I think we had a station wagon that we travelled in, and then there was a truck with the gear and our luggage.
Okay.
Yeah, and a couple of crew.
And would you ever drive yourself?
Oh no, we had a tour manager
That would drive.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you think back to it, and you're like, okay, we're going to Philadelphia now, or we're going here, and then you get on the road, and it's not like driving around the UK at all. This is a very different.
Absolutely not.
It must have been really interesting, right, to see these different cities.
It was, because even though, as Winston Churchill said, two great nations separated by one language, we were in a foreign land.
Yeah.
You know, we could make ourselves understood, but it was really different.
You guys would just rent gear when you got here, wouldn't you, typically, and travel with it, or not?
I think, I'm pretty sure I had my own amp.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we brought our gear over.
Okay.
You know, the organ and everything. Wow. Yeah. I think we flew that over. Pretty sure.
Wow, that's amazing. Moving around an organ, right?
Yeah.
You don't think about it now, but it's like these organs are incredibly difficult to move.
Yeah, we had problems, a lot of problems with carrying an organ, yeah.
When you were touring on your own with your own band, you'd usually typically play with trios, right?
Yeah.
Your records and stuff. What did you like about playing with a trio?
The thing is, with just the three of you, you've got to make up for the instrument that's missing. So it needs to be a little bit more intense from everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what gives it its power, its potency. Plus, from my point of view, it's a great challenge, to fill that space.
Yeah.
Especially when you go from backing the vocals to the lead.
Yes.
You really have to fill that space then, that's...
When you're writing the songs, would you usually enter the studio with the songs, with everything done, the songs that you were playing live, but then you'd have a couple songs that might be, this one's in process of being finished, and
I think we used to rehearse them. I think we either we would rehearse them and then play them live, or just rehearse them and go in the studio with them. Yeah, I think we came in prepared. Yeah.
And when you'd work with a producer like Matthew, for example, would he come to a rehearsal space beforehand and listen to the songs and say, okay, we should do these ones?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, it wasn't that kind of... He would oversee the recording, but, it was just a matter of, this is what we're doing, sort of. We brought it in, and obviously he'd hear it as we were sort of working up in the studio. So
I had told you about my Matthew story about Whiter Shade, talking about the keyboard inversions and stuff. He's a very knowledgeable musician. Would he say things about the arrangements, or, hey, why don't you try this or do that? Or he was really hands off?
The arrangements were written in to the song.
Okay.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
So I would bring the completed thing to Reggie and Jimmy. And then we'd sort of build it up from there.
I listened to the live album that came out in '77 many, many times. And when you'd make a live album back then, how would that come about? Would they travel with a multi-track, or would you just do it in one day, or what?
Well, no.
What would you do?
What that live album was some sort of miracle, really. I think it was the first night of a tour of Europe, and it was Sweden, Stockholm, and we didn't know at the time, but it was going out live on the radio.
Okay.
But luckily enough, they decided to record it as well.
Okay.
So a few weeks later, they sent us a cassette so we could hear it. And when we listened to it, thought, ooh, I wonder how many tracks that's on, So it was on a 4-track, luckily enough. So Jeff, we got hold of it and Jeff mixed it, and we had to redo the vocals because you couldn't hear the vocals because of the volume that we play at.
Yeah.
Had to redo the vocals on it, but it was just amazing piece of luck, really.
I want to play something off that. Now knowing this, that let me just play something from it. This is Two Rolling Stoned.
Right, it's up there, isn't it? It's fast. Wow. I don't suppose I've heard this since then.
What kind of wah-wah did you use back then?
I think it might have been a Dunlop.
Okay.
It might have been a Vox, but I think it was a Dunlop. Yeah, yeah.
So what would your pedal board be live? What would you have on there? You'd have a Univibe, a wah-wah,
Univibe, a wah,
a boost pedal.
that volume boost pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that basically.
And that would be it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I ask a lot of people this about how loud you would play. With the Marshalls wouldn't be dimed, would they? Like up all the way, would they, or would they?
I didn't ever run them full on.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, pretty much everyone I've interviewed, there's always this idea that everybody turned the things up, everything up to 10, and
Yeah.
Everyone that I've interviewed from that sense said no, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you got to have a bit of headroom.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just turns to mush.
Right. So where was the sweet spot? You know, you'd run it at
Well, I think about 6.
okay,
Yeah.
and you'd want to have it where you could kind of roll back the volume if you needed to, and
Yeah.
and clean it up
Clean
a little
it up,
bit, and
yeah,
then
that's it. Yeah.
between your boost pedal, between your volume controls on your guitar, and you would kind of, that's how you would create the different tones and
That's
things
it.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I ever changed anything on the amp. It's just always in the studio. I would change, the amount of drive.
Yeah.
And also, as you say, back off on the guitar as well.
How often would you run your guitar all the way up? Would you do it very often, or a lot of times you'd be back half volume?
I think for lead work, it was always
Full up.
full on. Yeah.
Right. When you're playing rhythm, would you dial
Rhythm,
it back?
I'd back off to 8 or maybe less. Yeah.
I think that's another misconception with people, that that people just play with their volume up all the time, but
Yeah.
that was not the case.
It's an easy way to get different textures.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Since the 90s, really, I've been using full tone pedals.
Okay.
He made a thing called a Deja Vibe, which is an imitation of a Univibe,
Yep.
which is pretty close, actually.
Great pedal.
Plus, not quite as noisy, because the Univibe was very
noisy.
lot of hissing to it. And I use various overdrive, full tone overdrives. At the moment, I'm using an OCD.
Okay.
Gone back to that after a few years, but also I've got a pedal that he made for me, which he calls a wah full, which is basically the wah mechanism on a volume control that you can set in one spot of the wah.
Mm-hmm.
And the wah, I think it's Clyde 2 is the wah I use.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to use the blue overdrive pedal. Maybe it was they had a full tone overdrive, that one, then the red one, which was the overdrive 2,
I remember
think.
those, but I never used them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I either used the first ones he gave me in 90 something,
Yep.
early 90s. I either still use those because they are the warmest, or the OCD.
Yeah.
That it goes between those. Yeah.
And what's the amp rig that you're using now? Are you using Marshall still?
Yeah, I use 50-watt Marshalls.
Yep.
On two 50 watts on two tuba 12s.
Okay.
Open back tuba 12s.
Why open back?
I think because the way I set up, there's a lot of bottom end. So by having them open back and only tuba 12s, it gets rid of a lot of that
Yeah.
you would get in a 4x12,
Yeah.
because that sort of is very, very bottom endy.
Yeah. And are you playing through 800s or use a
The 50 watts I'm using are, I think, called, what are they called? 1989?
Yeah.
I think that's yeah. But I do have them tweaked, just so they're not quite so bright,
Were you using 50 watts or 100 watts?
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yeah. But I think the hundreds in that time, someone from Marshall's once told me that they only put out 80
Okay.
watts, so they were called 100. And they were nowhere near as brash, so they didn't seem as loud as today's hundreds do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And plus, I think, those old greenbacks that they used to put in the 4x12s as well, they didn't put out, very much.
This
They
cabinet.
were nice and soft sounding,
This is a 71 cabinet here with original greenbacks in it.
Greenbacks, yeah.
It's been the upholstered, but it's got the original speakers in it,
Yeah.
and they're great sounding
Yeah,
speakers.
yeah. I mean, I did try switching to them, but I kept blowing them out. So I've had to go to vintage 30s, which is a compromise, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which are actually 65 watt speakers, even though
Yeah.
they're called vintage 30s.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they call them vintage
No,
30s.
I know.
Like, right.
Just a sales pitch.
I always found it interesting that all my favorite amplifier companies are all from England.
Yeah.
Marshall, High Watt, Vox, Orange. Why?
All good amps. Yeah. I think the thing is about those amps is they've all got that beef, haven't they?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's Fenders that may be more musical, especially the early Fenders, but it's that slightly aggressive beef that's
Aggressive mid-range.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. When you switch from playing SGs to playing Strats, why did you do that?
I think the Strat, rang the bell. It rang the bell for me, I think, because it had what I call a human voice quality to it.
Okay.
That Gibson didn't have.
Talk about that for a second.
It's hard to put it into words what I hear with that, but I think it might be because with the single coil pickup, you can hear the string more. It's always there. Doesn't matter how much you overdrive it, you can hear the string quite clear in the overall sound. And I think that's what gives it it's certainly unique voicing. Yeah.
I was always a fan of P90s, which to me are more like a single coil.
Yeah.
And including the hum, and they more like a microphone. Maybe that's the thing about the Fender using a Strat, and the single coil pickups are more like a microphone, as opposed to with a humbucker you get more of the sound of the pickup than the sound of the strings.
That's right.
How did you used to deal with tuning back then? Would you have a tuner backstage that you would tune up with?
Yeah. You always had a tuner, but of course with Strats, especially in those days, impossible to stay in tune.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible. Since I've had my signature model Strat, I've got locking tuners as part of that setup.
And you have locking tuners on the actual tuners, like
I think they're called shallers.
Shallers, yeah.
And you can lock the string rather than having it wound round, and that eliminates a lot of the sort of movement that you would get in the old Strats. And so that's helped a lot.
Do you have a tuning pedal on your
Yeah.
that you use now?
Oh, yeah. Take life easy.
Right. So you think there was anything that was positive about tuning by ear back then?
Well, I think it's good to train your ear
Yeah.
to that, you know. When I'm practicing at home or wherever I'm practicing, I don't use a tuner. I like to, keep it, see if I can hear it. You know, that's the thing. I think it's good training.
When you were learning tunes, when you first started playing in bands and you would get an album, how long would it take you to pick up a song?
I don't remember it ever being a problem. I can't really remember what the process was, so it can't have been anything difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys would go in to work on a tune, like everybody would know their parts, and you just play it down then?
Yeah, I think that was more or less it, yeah.
When you're first starting out playing in clubs, how would you go about promoting your shows?
Well, are you talking about like the 60s?
Yeah, in the 60s, yeah.
I think we were just booked.
And whoever would show up would show up?
Yeah, at that time, apart from playing locally where we were known, I think what it was, there would be a dance.
Yeah.
So we would travel 30, 40 miles. I don't think anybody knew who was going to be playing.
They would just go because there would be live music.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, like we were talking about when I saw Cream very early on in their career. It was a dance. And I'm not sure anybody there knew who they were,
Did they even care? Or they just
No.
They were just the band that was playing?
Yeah, people were dancing to it. And I mean, I think there was, sort of a dozen people sort of standing in front and watching it sort of thing. But, when you think about it, it's, but you've got to start somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, did you see Hendrix play many times?
No, not many times. I saw him once. When I was in Procol Harum, we played with him. We supported in Berlin. Yeah, we opened up that night, yeah.
When would that have been?
It wasn't long before he died.
Okay.
Yeah, a few months, yeah.
And how was he as a player live? Amazing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to give up playing guitar for about a year after seeing him. Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing happened to me when I saw Albert King.
Uh-huh.
I thought, oh, no, I've got to give it up. It's useless. Yeah.
I want to ask you about the music business back then and having your own record deals, right?
Yeah.
You made records you made a record every single year pretty much all the way through the 70s. That was a very common thing. If you had a record deal, would they expect you to put out a record? Was that in your contract that you needed to put out a record every year?
I wouldn't say it's in your contract. No, I think they wanted you to give them product. Mm-hmm. That was, that was the business then.
So it would be a record and then a tour, and then the next year a record, then tour.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah, yes.
What was the music business like in the 70s as far as the record labels? Would you go in for meetings ever and say, oh, this record, what's this record going to be like? Or was it just, so how
I don't know how other people were, but I tell you, it was mostly quite a lot of sharks running it in those days.
Yeah.
But no, I think...
Did you have an A&R person? You were on Chrysalis.
Well, I think... let me see. With Chrysalis, there was two guys that run it, and I think they would sort of say, "Well, you need to do a record. We'll book you in the studio and go in and make it."
When you guys would go out and tour, would the tour be all set beforehand, and you'd be like, "Okay, so we're going to play these dates." It's going to be a 20-city tour. What was the touring like, and how did it progress through the 70s into the 80s?
When we had our first album out,
yep,
because we were on Chrysalis, they put us on their big act tour, which at first was Jethro Tull,
Okay.
and we'd open up for them. And then as we progressed, we went into the States with them. I think the first stuff we did was in Europe with them. Then we went into the States with them. And then the next time round, we opened up for King Crimson and 10 Years After in these big arenas, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what broke us, really, was being on those tours. And so eventually we worked our way up to being, you know, top of the bill.
Was there camaraderie between, let's see, Martin Barr from Jethro Tull? Would you hang out with him at all, or
No.
would the opening bands not really?
No, but I did.
Or Robert Fripp with King Crimson?
I
You guys were friends, right?
Yeah, we were good buddies, and
Yeah.
still are good buddies.
Yeah.
Being guitar players, you know, and we just seem to get along. You know, that's the thing. Yeah.
And would you hang out and jam when you're on tour, or not really?
No, there was no. You never get into that sort of situation in an arena tour.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like it's all business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they never have you come up and play.
No.
Interesting.
I don't think. No.
Do you ever go back and listen to these? I mean, we're listening to some of your early records. Do you ever go back and listen to them?
No, usually once they're finished, mixed, I don't ever listen to them again. I'm usually on to the next. As I say, I hadn't heard that live thing since the time we mixed it, you know. That's why I was so surprised how fast it was. Obviously, when you're younger, those tempos are more possible.
Yeah. I had asked you before we started, the Bridge of Sighs record was remastered in 2007, and you said they did a surround mix at the time, but
No, not at the time, just recently.
Recently
they
they
did a
mix.
50th anniversary last year, came out last year, and that was, they did a surround sound Bluetooth, Blu-ray version, plus a remastered of the original.
When they remaster a record like that, do they pay the artist when they remaster the things? I always wondered that. Or how do they?
I continue to get royalties. We all
Yeah.
get royalties still from everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but how do they? Do they have to get your permission to remaster?
I think. Well, I'm not sure they have to, but
Yeah.
they always send a copy for me to check that I'm happy with what they've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they remaster, typically, what are they doing? They're trying to get to. Do they change the levels dramatically? What do you notice?
I think the main thing I noticed on the Bridge of Sighs one and on Twice Removed from Yesterday, which was the previous year,
Yeah.
it was clearer.
Okay.
That was the main thing. Yeah, I think it's that digital, you know, that they can get in and tweak different frequencies more, you know.
Would you get a test pressing of it? Oh, here's the test pressing. Check it out.
Yeah, that's right.
And would there ever be anything you're like, well, I don't like this, or can you do something
No,
different?
I don't think in those days, I don't think I knew enough about it.
Most musicians didn't know,
No.
recording artists didn't know about those things, did they?
I mean, it's interesting when Jeff Emmerich once told me that when he first started as an engineer, I think he was a tape op,
Yeah.
and he said, I couldn't hear the bass. He said, I just couldn't hear it.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's a mind thing. It's not a matter of his hearing.
Yeah.
That was his brain.
Yeah, his brain couldn't identify the bass.
And eventually, you know, obviously, it all became clearer. I'm sure equipment had a lot to do with that as well. But I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
That's how sort of untutored we were, you know, in terms of the sound and everything.
Well, I think maybe it was that there were all these different separate components of making a record. You had your producer, you have the producer and artist part of it, then you have the recording engineer part of it.
Yeah.
And then you get removed from that and you go to the mastering engineer, and they do it in a different place. And it's
Yeah.
like in the cutting of the vinyl and all this. And,
Yeah.
And so there's all these specialists, and part of it, you don't even see the mastering engineers. You don't even know what they're doing.
No, that's
Right?
right. Putting it down for it to be pressed in vinyl is a whole different,
Right.
a whole different ball of wax, isn't it?
Right. And they didn't even, and you almost don't even, that's like a mysterious process at the time.
It was. I mean, I definitely feel like once you'd finished recording, and you'd listen to them mixing it,
Yeah.
if it was on 4-track, or
Yep.
I think eventually we went to 16-track and took part in the mixing. In actual fact,
Yeah, moving faders and things like that.
all that. But once that was done, that was at the end of it. But of course, it went through other processes after that. Yeah.
But you're very removed from those things.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess the people at the labels were the ones that were kind of involved in that part of it, hiring the people,
Yeah.
the mastering engineers. When was it that you start becoming aware of those things?
I think in the 90s for me, when I was working, I'm pretty sure it was when I was working with Brian Ferry, I would go to the mastering with him. Because he would bring me along just for what I could bring to it,
Yeah.
So that's when I started being aware of that side of it. Yeah.
Would you ever, when you would mix to half inch or quarter inch, whatever you would mix to, would you ever have times when you would edit the mixes and say, okay, we got a good intro and verse part of this thing, we're going to edit the chorus on here? Or would you ever edit between takes like that? Say, hey, we got it up.
I think we have done. I think it was rare.
Yeah.
To edit 2 takes together. I think that does ring a bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the live record that that we had just listened to, so that you got the 4-track.
Yeah.
Jeff took out the vocal. Then
Jimmy sang it again.
Jimmy sang it again,
and
they mixed it. Yeah. How long would it take to mix a record?
All day.
Yeah.
A live album like that, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, you've only got 4 tracks.
4 tracks, right.
And it's probably all bleeding into each other anyway, so the only clear thing was the vocals that had been redone. But so once you got the first track set up, they just run it through.
I read somewhere, maybe it was in Jeff's book, I can't remember now, that Jeff had incredibly good hearing, that he could hear incredibly high, like up to 30K.
I believe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he had amazingly good ears.
He was amazing. He definitely was, yeah.
Without people like that were these visionaries, people like Jeff Emmerich really helped advance recording.
Yeah. But also, you've got to remember, Jeff came up with George Martin.
Yes.
Started at the bottom and worked his way up to being the engineer with George Martin. George Martin had incredible ears.
Yes.
So, he was trained by the best.
Right. All the Abbey Road guys came up through the tape ops. They started and then they gradually moved up.
It was a bit like the BBC, the Abbey Road thing, where it was all in-house training and,
When you first were in recording studios back in the 60s, were there people that just only moved microphones, or did people wear lab coats back then, or not really?
There were lab technicians at Abbey Road.
Okay.
But they weren't in the studio working. They were there for repairing or whatever, if there was a problem. And they have to set up the recording machines. The Asmus, is it called? Yeah.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it was a fabulous place, Abbey Road, in those days. It really was. Had a real atmosphere about it, A lot of great music made there.
Now, Olympic Studios, what was that like? Was that as big of a place?
They had a big room.
Was it? Okay.
You've got to remember, a lot of these early studios were probably put together for recording soundtracks for movies. Mm-hmm. That was why they had, and also the big classical orchestras would go in number 1 at Abbey Road.
Would Olympic, did they just have one big room, or was there multiple rooms?
I know Procol recorded in the smaller room.
Okay.
Number 2, but my first album, Twice Removed, we did in the big room.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah.
How close would the closest mic be? Would Jeff? Where would he put the closest?
I think
mic?
the first one would be like 3 foot away.
Okay.
6 foot away and 9 foot away, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so would he go from mic to mic, or would he blend them together? Do you know? You don't have
it was a blend.
Yeah, because you don't have a few tracks.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was a blend.
What are some of the other studios that you recorded at? So you did Olympic, you recorded at Abbey Road. Where did you do some of your other solo records?
Did one called In City Dreams down in Florida, in Miami.
Yep. Was it Criteria there?
Criteria, that was it, yeah.
And how did you like that studio?
Yeah, it was an excellent studio.
That's a famous studio. I've never been there, but I hear it's beautiful.
A lot of good stuff's come out of there.
Yeah.
But not particularly big room.
Okay.
No, I think there were 2 rooms, and both, not huge, not orchestra rooms. You know.
If I said to you, name me, 3 of your top guitar influences or records that you like that maybe have come out, just who are some people that you really are big fans of? You said Scotty Moore.
Well, Albert King is my favourite guitar player.
Okay.
Tone, tunes that he plays, soul. Hendrix, obviously, huge influence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I mean, there's some tones there that are wonderful as well. Scotty Moore, obviously. Mm-hmm. I think that more or less sums it up.
Yeah.
That's got it covered, yeah.
Yeah.
I think of Hendrix as being the king of rock and roll guitar players, and Albert King is the emperor of blues.
Lefties.
Interesting, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely interesting.
One that plays upside down, one that doesn't.
Yeah.
But if you think about some of the biggest bands, the Beatles, there's 2 people were left-handed. Ringo was lefty, and Paul. Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath, left-handed. Jimi Hendrix, Albert King. To have people that actually played left-handed, it's pretty remarkable that some of these huge, iconic musicians were left-handed and played left-handed.
Yeah.
When that was not really very
especially
common.
the upside down thing with Albert King. Weird. He started off as a drummer. He was Jimmy Reed's drummer originally. So, I mean, his pathway into what he was doing was unique.
Do you think that his bending, because of the leverage that you can have, I'm sure that you've
pushing
played
away from you.
Yeah, pushing away from you.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, it's weird because some of his licks, when you try to play them because I have a left-handed guitar here, and I try and I turn it over. My son plays left-handed, and some of the things just lay so strangely, but the leverage that you can have on the high strings, pulling down on them is, it's just way easier to bend.
Definitely. I mean, and he used to bend up 2 tones, didn't he? For
amazing.
some licks. You know.
He was a big dude too, though.
Yeah.
So I'm sure even if he playing it,
I mean, it was a Flying V he used to play. It looked like a toy in his house, didn't it? I've picked one up and it's like a huge trunk of wood, It's like,
What kind of stuff did you used to practice?
I don't think I ever practice. What I do is I play.
Yeah.
For enjoyment, and just ideas, sort of are invented in that sort of where I'm at. I like to just sort of lose myself into it a little bit and see what gets created.
Yeah.
Rather than sit down and working out stuff. I like to think I'm more heart than head,
Yeah. As far as your vocabulary, you have you developed your own vocabulary, your own voice.
I think it's maybe because I'm approaching particularly lead work in terms of tunes, compositional things that are part of the track I'm playing on. Mm-hmm. I think that may be just a little bit different than most.
Did you jam with many guitar players back in the day?
No, not at all. No,
Interesting.
I've never been. I mean, I'll jam with my own setup, you know, different people that I've played with, but never sort of. I got up and jammed. I say jammed. I got up and played guitar for Johnny Taylor once in a club, and that was fun. Got kind of pushed up there by the guy that was producing us at the time, Don Davis, was producing Johnny Taylor. So we went to see Johnny Taylor, and I got I got put up there, you know, and that was. I mean, obviously, to play with Johnny Taylor was great. You know, fantastic. On somebody else's guitar, you know, talk about difficult. But yeah, it was fun to do. But that was rare, very rare.
What gauge strings did you used to play, or what do you play now?
Well, now I use pretty much standard set, but the top two are quite heavy.
Okay.
A 12 and a 15.
Okay.
But I tuned down a whole step.
Yeah.
So to make it easier to bend and vibrato.
Did you always use heavier strings like that?
No, I didn't. But when I started to realise about the tone of getting a proper sound out of the Strat, I realised you had to have heavier strings on the top two.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you use back in the 70s? What gauge strings
I
would you use?
suppose it'd be like a 10 set, you know,
Okay.
10 on the first and the usuals.
Yeah, 10 through 46 or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much what most people used, or would they use lighter gauge strings, or was that
I think some people use lighter. Yeah. I know people who would use a 9, which is like a rubber band, really, you know.
Yeah.
And you can't really get any real sound out of the thing. But, you know, if they find it easier to play that's why they go to it, you know.
I think B.B. King used 8s
Yeah.
on his guitar. And
Yeah, I think Albert King didn't use particularly heavy
no, I
strings.
think Albert King used really light strings too.
Yeah, but it's the guitar that they're playing, I suppose, and the action.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a higher action, so they get a bit more sound out of it. I have to have my setup to be able to play
Yeah.
because it's integral to what, you know, what the noise you make, you know.
Yeah, so how important, I always ask people this, players, like how important is your sound as far as in being inspired to play?
Obviously, I can play without it, but
If you have a great sound,
yeah, I mean, it creates other things, the sound, that's the things. Like I say, sustain, you know, all sorts of voicings you can get, you know, with the overdrive and playing loud, you know, yeah, I can't play without it, not really, not and do my thing anyway.
if you're playing through a stack, right? If you were playing through a stack, would you play through full stacks back then, or would you play through half
I did,
stacks?
yeah, full stacks, yeah.
Would you have the top one hooked up or not? The top cabinet, would they both be hooked up?
Yeah, I think when they the speaker cabinets were greenbacks,
Yeah.
you had to have both cabinets with a 100-watt amp, otherwise you would blow the speakers out.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the thing.
And you had 2 full stacks, right, that you play through?
3 at one point.
3, okay.
Yeah. Big arenas, you know.
Yeah, just for
Yeah.
the coverage because you
Yeah.
didn't have monitors.
That's right.
That was so fun, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was great.
I mean, to think about it now, it's you know, everybody's got their little in-ear monitors or
Yeah. That wouldn't work for me.
yeah,
No, the guitar has got to see the speakers.
yeah.
And
You have to have the
they have to be
interaction.
talking to each other, you know. That's the thing.
That is so well put. They have to be talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have that that communication between.
Well, it
the
becomes
two.
like a cycle of sound. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't create that with pedals and playing quiet.
No.
No.
Do you make demos at home at all anymore? You record at home?
I do, just when I'm writing,
Mm-hmm.
I'll put down the song, which is always a guitar arrangement, and the vocal, which I always sing to show to whoever's
Yeah.
going to sing it, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's all really.
Yeah. And what do you use to do that? Do you have a? Do
I
you
have
use
a handheld Sony recorder, which
Okay.
I've had for donkey's years.
Yeah.
But now I started putting it on my phone
Okay.
because,
It's easy.
yeah, that's easy. And plus, I can email the demo to whoever's going to sing it.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah,
Did you ever think that you'd be able to just record things like that?
you don't,
Robin?
do you? I mean, I used to obviously came up using cassette recorders, you know, putting ideas down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Robin, it's such an honor to meet you, and you know, I need to give you some royalties for some of the licks I stole from you and stuff. So, thank you so much for coming by. I really
Oh, you're
appreciate
quite
it.
welcome. Thank you very
It's an
much.
honor to meet you.
Yes.
Thanks.